Just got off a coaching call with a client, and I had some really big insights from this coaching call, and I'd like to share some of those insights with you. In life, things happen. One day, 1 minute, 1 second, everything is great, and the next second, something happens, and you're faced with all kinds of challenges, some big, some small, some life changing, some inconvenient. And that this is true in our lives outside of work and also inside of work. There's an old saying that there's one thing that we can all be guaranteed of, and that is change, and change is inevitable. And that kind of change happens a lot in the middle of projects, in the middle of the day. Just things happen that alter our lives. So last week, I was skiing in Mammoth Mountain, California, where I learned how to ski there when I was 6 years old. And for the first time since I was 6 years old, I had to take a ride in a patroller sled down the hill because I had blown out my knee. And in that moment, a lot changed. And as the days went on and I learned more about my condition, I realized that I needed to cancel speaking engagements. I had to cancel workshops. I had to cancel seminars for myself that I was going to go to because I can't travel for a while. And this has been quite upsetting to me. And I was having a very challenging time just being in the moment with it. I kept on looking too far down the road. I kept on thinking, what if? And all those what ifs began to paralyze me, where I really couldn't do work that I need to do today in order to really get through this process successfully, like really turn it into the silver lining. So this client that I was coaching was sharing with me just a bunch of things going on in their world that was just overwhelming, just totally overwhelming. And this client also felt completely paralyzed, just didn't know what to do next. Couldn't really see couldn't see down the road at all. And as I'm sitting here in my chair with my leg in a splint, I recalled a time about 15, 20 years ago when I was on a ski patrol, and one of my very dear friends, his name is Mike, took me up to Mammoth, and he said, okay, we're going to go down a run you'd never been down before. And it was one of these runs that when you look at it from the top, it looks like you're going down a wall. Mike's one of the best skiers I've ever known. So he drops into this narrow chute and goes down the hill. So I drop in and I stop and I look down, and literally, like when I looked up, the snow was like right there. And if I had fallen over, I would have just tumbled down this hill, and it was very narrow, and there was lava outcrops on both sides. And I was paralyzed for a moment. I was afraid of this run. And I looked up and there were people looking down at me, and my ego kicked in and said, okay, I can't climb out and I got to get down this run. So in that moment, I said to myself, just take this run one turn at a time, just one turn at a time. So I took my first turn. I took my second turn, and I was focusing on the next turn. And though I know where I was headed, I wasn't overwhelmed by everything that was ahead of me because I was literally taking it one turn at a time. And before I knew it, I made it down to the bottom of this run successfully. I looked back up at it again, and I was honestly pretty proud of myself that I made it down that run in that way. Fast forward years later, I was skiing with my younger daughter. At that time, she was probably 6 or 7, and I made a mistake on the trail, and we ended up going down a diamond run on her first day of skiing. And I used the same exercise with her. I slip slide her in front of her, and I was just telling her, okay, turn. And I get down to the bottom of this run, and I looked at her and I pointed up the hill and I said, "Sweetheart, look what you just skied down." And her eyes opened up really wide. And she said to me, "Daddy, let's do it again." We didn't, but I was so happy to see that she had that kind of enthusiasm. So what does this mean to us? How can we use, how am I using this lesson that I learned so many years ago right now today? I realized that I need to take the next period of time, however many weeks or months it might be, while I recover one turn at a time and stay focused on the next step. Absolutely have a plan of where I want to get to, but don't let the entirety of the plan and everything that can go wrong with the plan, because I don't know what my condition is going to be like, get in the way of me moving forward, even if it's just one turn at a time. So I'm going to ask you that if you're in a situation where you're feeling overwhelmed by everything, and we know there are a lot of things that we can do, write things down, make a list, things like that. You might want to just consider what it would look like if you just focused on one small task at a time. And as you move through this task, before you know it, you will achieve your goals. I hope this is helpful. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.